Hello everyone. Cybersecurity space has today 11% only of female workforce. This is a main challenge, especially for chief information security officers who are endorsing actually the diversity. I had the opportunity to meet Jane Frankland in London this January 2017, and we are both fighting for more women in cybersecurity. Jane is here today to share with us the most amazing things that she has been doing to encourage ladies in the field, including the Woman in Security book, soon available for sale. She is here today. I am Magda Shelley, Managing Director of Responsible Cyber and founder of Woman in Cyber. Hello, Jane. It is really fabulous to have you here with us today. Can you please introduce yourself and share a little bit more about your experience and how did you get into cybersecurity?
Hi, Magda. Yeah, it's really great to be here. So first of all, thanks for having me. I've been in the industry for a long time. It's 19 years in effect. My background actually was art and design. And like many women, I fell into security. So I had no plans to get into it at all. What happened was I met someone and we started a tech company. And because I knew nothing about security, the only two things that really interested me in terms of tech was AI or security. And at that stage in 1997, AI was really new, not like it is now. So I looked at security, and because it sounded really cool. It sounded to me a little bit like James Bond, and I kind of cringed saying that, but it did. And so that's kind of how I got into it. I just leapt in, started by building a company, and we built a very successful cybersecurity company, or in those days it was called information security or IT security, and we specialized in penetration testing. Now I don't have a pen testing company. I built and sold that. It was a global consultancy. And what I do now is I help individuals, leaders, so typically CISOs and entrepreneurs, to meet their performance objectives. So I'm doing a lot of work with women in security, as you know, and that's how we came to meet. And it was over a year ago, I picked up a report written by ISC Squared on the state of the workforce in regards to women. And quite frankly, it shocked me. I was shocked, not at the low numbers, because I know lots of women in the industry, but it was the declining numbers year on year. And it shocked me so much that I knew I had to write about it. So I got onto LinkedIn, wrote a blog. It took me all weekend, and I thought, oh my goodness, I'm going to get crucified for writing what I did. But I thought, it's my view. No one can take that away from me. So here you go. And then what happened was it went mad online. So I had a lot of comments, mostly, in fact, I would say, aside from about two, they were all really positive. And then I had a lot of private messages from women who started to tell me about their stories. And after that, I was invited to write more for magazines, and I write a lot anyway. And then over Christmas time, in 2015, I didn't have my children. And I just thought, let's look at this in a bit more detail. Let's structure it a little bit more. And what happened was I ended up writing a 15,000 word report on the state of gender diversity globally. And I put together resources for men and women to help them with regards to cybersecurity and finding out more, where do they go. And at that stage, I was literally just going to get it out onto LinkedIn and just add more value and help the community more. And then I suddenly thought, hang on, it's half a book. A book needs to be 30,000 words. Should I go out there and add more value by interviewing women and men and turn it into a book? And because I know publishers, I just picked up the phone to a publisher and said, look, this is what I've done. Do you think I should turn it into a book? And she said, look, you'd be crazy not to. So that's how I came to write, to be writing a book about certainly the state of the industry, but specifically with regards to women and how we can attract, identify, and retain women in cybersecurity.
This is really an amazing experience, Jane, that you have been through. So if I understand, the trigger, or actually why did you write the blog in the first place, was because of the report of ISC Squared. But what actually made you even write the blog, or what made you read that report in the first place? Have you been through any challenges yourself, and that's why you have been searching for more insights?
I mean, that's a great question. I actually read a blog by a friend of mine, and she referred to it. And I thought, okay, let me have a look. So I kind of came to it. I came to it that way. In terms of the challenges that I've faced, I would say by and large, I haven't, but I'd put a caveat on that. You know, so by and large, mostly I haven't experienced a lot of gender discrimination in security. But I do say that with a caveat because actually I don't think I would have recognized a lot of it. And also the other thing, one of the reasons why I think that I haven't necessarily experienced so much, certainly compared to other women, is because I built my own business. So I was leading it, and I was out there doing a lot of selling, and so I think that's mainly the reason. But I know certainly from investigating the book and from having spoken to so many women, there is so much that goes on out there. And also since writing the book, I've definitely experienced a lot of discrimination, and it's subtle. A lot of it is subtle, you know. So it could be the language that's being used in front of you, in front of other people, to put you down. It could be things like ideas being stolen in meetings. There's so many different ways that it kind of manifests itself. So I definitely think, one, I recognize it much more now from having investigated it. And two, I think during this past year, I've experienced much more discrimination from writing the book.
Thank you. I have also one other question that is intriguing me actually about the subject. And I guess you have had a lot of comments, like you said. Apart the positive ones, you probably got some negative ones. What would be your answer for a comment saying, we do not have women in cybersecurity because women do not want to come into cybersecurity?
That's a really good question. So in fact, I smile, and I know you're smiling when you're asking me this, because we were on LinkedIn just yesterday, and we had, you know, we were involved in a thread that was pretty much saying that, but an awful lot more. And it was, you know, quite shocking in places. And like I said, you know, I'm laughing, you're laughing, because it is really quite shocking. And what some, and I'm going to say men will say, because largely it is men who are saying this. Women can be negative in other respects, but when it comes to women being in security or technology, a lot of men think you can't force them to come into the industry, and we're different. And yes, we are, and I agree with them. You can't force women into technology, but a lot of women really enjoy technology, and they want to be in technology, they want to be in cyber, and they come into it, you know, really quite enthusiastic and passionate. And then when they do get into it, they're faced with a lot of unconscious bias and discrimination, which makes them lose their energy, it makes them get weary of it, and often they'll leave. So we have at the moment 56, we have say 10% of women in security globally, according to the study done by ISC Squared in 2015, but 56% of women leave mid-career. So that's an awful lot of dissatisfied women who are leaving. And I've spoken to a lot of dissatisfied women, you know, when I was researching the book. And some of those stories are in the book. I'm not naming those women, but it's tragic because they're so skilled. They're so skilled. And the other kind of tragic thing that I think that's going on is a lot of the men aren't aware of exactly what they're doing. You know, they're completely unaware that maybe their comments are actually making women so weary and tired and frustrated, to the point where they just say, do you know what, I'm leaving this. I'm going to go and carve a new career in a different industry. and where there isn't this or as much discrimination.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with this point. And even for the funny story, I had the opportunity to talk to one of my very good friends, and of course she is in IT too, as we went to school together. I'm not naming her, but she was currently thinking of changing her position in her industry because of a lack of possible growth, lack of visibility of what she will become later. She has been doing the same thing for many years, over and over. And I can say that, of course, she got several congratulations from her management either, saying that she's doing a great job, but that's it. So no further actions after that one. So it is a very interesting topic, and I think it's really a challenge for many women out there. So the next question that I have is actually, I know you have kids. So I would say, are you already teaching them all this in cybersecurity in particular?
It's I teach them what they'll allow me to teach them, because when you have children, and they kind of tune in and out as to what they want to listen to. So, for example, I'm smiling saying that because fairly recently, my daughter, so I do talk to them, and I was talking to my daughter, and she came back from school a few months ago saying, oh, we had this really cool person who came in and he talked to us about identity and managing it online, and he went through this, that, and the other. And so she was enjoying telling me this. And I kind of sat there, I was driving my car, and I was sitting there kind of going, yep, I've talked to you about this. And you've kind of gone, no. Or, no, he doesn't. It's not like that, Mom. And so I just kind of nodded my head and smiled and encouraged her and, listened to her and said, oh, that's really good. And, I'm glad, without kind of saying, I told you so, or I've been telling you that for the last, however many years. And so, yeah, they listen to what they want. Especially at the moment, my younger two are teenagers, so they really will listen to whatever they want to, particularly from one of their parents. But I do talk to them about it, and it is a concern, particularly for my daughter, but actually there's just as much concern for my son, because there are so many weird people out there, and it's awful really to think about what goes on in terms of children. So it's massively important that they are aware, but that they're realistic about it. So I talk to them a lot about business. I talk to them a lot about how they're presenting themselves, a lot about safety and risk, because what we're doing is all about mitigating risk. So it's not a case of locking everything down. It's actually looking at it and saying, what are the risks out there? Do I need to do this? And taking a measured view on it, because that's how we operate in life, and certainly in terms of security in our industry, that's how we operate.
So as we are talking about kids and children, I have here another question for you. As a woman in cybersecurity, as a businesswoman, how would you approach actually cyberbullying? And do you think that there is enough knowledge or actually advice around that topic?
Well, in fact, I remember you asking me this fairly recently online, and we didn't discuss it. So again, it's another great question. I've had direct experience of this. So with my eldest son, this was actually quite a few years ago, at least 10 years ago. He was being bullied online and by text with his mobile phone. And this was going on, and it got to a stage actually where the boy in question, he was friends with the boy in question, and they'd gone to school together. The boy had come round to our house several times. I knew his parents. His father had actually worked for my father years ago. They were in the same industry, and it got to a stage actually where I had to intervene and go to the school, because threats were being made. And I went straight to his school and revealed exactly what had been happening. I had a full audit trail. Here are the messages. This is what's going on. And this boy, the school handled it brilliantly. They did say, I wish you'd have come to us much sooner. And they stamped it out immediately. I mean, the boy was stripped of everything. He was an academic student. He was a class rep. So in terms of his kind of public profile, or personal brand, certainly within the school, you know, he was an A-star student, you know, doing really well. But actually behind the scenes, you know, he was a nasty little bully. So he was stripped of everything. The school made an example of him to illustrate we do not tolerate this type of behavior. This is not a boy who goes to our school. This is not the ethos of a boy who goes to our school. So he was stripped of everything and made an example of. And it didn't, you know, that was the end of it. We had no more instances of that. You know, I've had other instances with, not with my middle one actually, not with him, but with my daughter. Again, she suffered bullying, and most of it, well, not most of it actually, some of it is online, some of it is offline. And again, go straight into the school. You know, if you've got a good school, they'll deal with it, and have that audit trail so you can show them, here's the proof. That would be my top advice. A good school will deal with it and not turn a blind eye to it.
So, and it's very good advice for the moms out there, and also for the parents in general, and the dads too. But have you had the opportunity to actually find out what was happening, or your kids came to you by themselves for help?
Yeah, my children came to me, so and told me. So I think I was lucky. But actually, in the case of my daughter, I mean, bullying had gone on for years. So it made me really sad to hear that actually she'd been bullied at school for 3 years and gone through that without saying anything. You know, and certainly bullying, I cannot stand a bully. You know, and emotional abuse, because that's what bullying is. It's usually name calling. It's, you know, it can be physical, but a lot of it is emotional, and what it can do to a child or an adult is really pretty horrendous. You know, it can be threatening. Obviously, there are lots of instances where, you know, children or people, you know, adults have taken their lives. So yeah. So
thank you very much. Yeah, really, Jane, for sharing this experience. I can imagine that it was a difficult time, and it was great that your kids came to you for help. Most of the time, kids hide that, and parents do not know how to act towards that, or even do not know that cyberbullying exists because they haven't been through that. Because many years ago, there was no internet. So different generation, different case usages. And therefore, we need really also to raise awareness about that. So you mentioned in the previous reply about personal branding. So what is your actually view or advice for women in cyber, because we're still continuing in the same subject, to work on their personal branding? And what would you say to them as the main first step to evolve and create a very good personal image out there online, especially?
There's actually quite a lot to personal branding, and it's definitely something that I teach. You know, I've built myself. I think the first place to actually start is to definitely know what your objectives are. So why do you want a personal brand? You know, you need to look at your mission, your vision, and your objectives. So definitely you need to define what your objectives are. Why do you want to be online? How do you want to show yourself? What do you stand for? And then you really need to look at how you're presenting yourself. And the first place you start is actually with your photos. So a picture paints 1,000 words. The best thing that you can do in terms of, say, your online profile is to invest in a really good photographer. So go and get some professional business photos done of yourself, because that's a key differentiator, because the majority of people don't invest in that. And you are being viewed, 24/7, constantly. So how you present yourself online is massively important. And the photographs need to present you as who you are. And if you get a good photographer, they can do that. So for example, I've seen a lot of photos that are professional, but that are so dull and bland, they don't connect with a viewer. So you do need to invest in a good photographer who can portray you as who you are, the professional person, but also someone who can be accessible and you can connect with, if that's what you stand for. Because again, it's about being authentic and true to yourself. So some people don't want to be accessible. Some people don't want to connect. So it's very much knowing, who you are, what you stand for, what your objective is. So start with your headshot, your photograph, and then you really need to go on to crafting your headline and what you do, effectively your pitch. And that could be your bio on whichever channels that you want to be on. And whether that's LinkedIn or Twitter or Facebook or wherever. So you need to do that, and all of those bios and summaries are going to be different depending on what platform you're on. And then you need to go about, how do I connect? So how do I speak? And what is the etiquette of this platform? So you have to really know how to present yourself, but also how to connect and develop a relationship with others online in accordance with what you stand for, what your objectives are. And then you also have to look at your offline. So what are you doing offline? Because personal branding isn't just about being online. It's about how you're presenting yourself offline, and what are you doing, and how are you getting, if you're working in a company, an organization, how are you developing your influence internally? How are you presenting yourself internally? So it's very much about the online side of things, which is what most people think of when they hear personal branding. But actually, it's also about the offline side of things.
Absolutely amazing advice. I totally agree with you, Jane. And I think it's very important to have a very good picture that reflects the personality of yourself, or the person, and therefore decide whether you want to connect with people or not. So coming back to your book, when it will be available, how is possible to buy it online or buy it in bookstores or wherever? I'm really extremely excited about it. So I'll be the first one reading it.
So what I'm working towards, so this is all very new to me. So I'm kind of feeling my way with it. I keep going back to my publishers saying, what about this? What about that? And right now we can't give an absolute definitive date yet. Because there are Amazon takes, it could be one day, it could be 2 weeks to upload it to Amazon. So it's going to be distributed via Amazon. And so we can't give a definitive date, but I'm working towards June, so the early June. So it'll be with the editor on Wednesday. That will take about 2 to 3 weeks for them to edit. Then it'll come back to me. Then I'll have to do more work. Prepare myself with lots of tears and things like that. So I'll have to do more work, accept their comments or not accept them, and then it will go back to the editor or publisher for them to kind of check and do some more work on, get the artwork prepared, and then it will be pretty much sign off here, and then it will go up to Amazon. So yeah, I'm feeling my way with it, but we're working towards early June for the launch of it. And I cannot, I'm really scared about getting it out because it's a huge thing. It's a massive thing, but I'm really excited about it as well. So it's kind of, again, be brave. We just had Women's International Day the other day, and they were calling for being brave, being bold. And so that's kind of what I'm doing, being brave, being bold, being courageous, and working on the basis. I spent over a year researching this and interviewing women and men and hearing their stories from all over the world, and really kind of putting it into, the chapters, so that I can help people by providing solutions to the problem.
Amazing. Can't wait to June. Jane, thank you very much for sharing with us all this experience and very, very great advice for women in cybersecurity and for parents also. I'm extremely happy to have you today here, and I hope we are together encouraging more women and more ladies to take the first step to come into cybersecurity and to build a career that can be exciting and amazing, almost like in James Bond, like you said. Thank you, Jane.
Thanks,
Talk to you very soon.
Thanks. Bye.
Thanks. Bye-bye.